Showtime! The Capital G show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here. We're talking Shadow Imprisoning Mirror in this video, and we're asking the question, should you be main decking this card right now? I feel like there were a lot of rumblings towards the end in the latter stages of last format, but after YCS Dallas, I feel like this topic has much more credence. Now, obviously, you guys know why you'd want to main deck Shadow Mirror if possible. I mean, Burning Abyss and Shaddolls, well, I mean, it goes without saying that they're severely crippled by the card. They don't get flip effects, they don't get their graveyard effects, they don't get their tour guide trigger effects, and with a lot of people pretty much not running main decked MST, it can give you a really big advantage in game one where your opponent's probably going to have limited answers to the card. Now, I'm not usually for these type of extreme methods, but if you look at the top 32 of YCS Dallas, and I'm going according to the Konami blog, these are their statistics, not mine. Burning Abyss and Shaddolls took an alarming 78%, or roughly 25 spots for those of you guys who just wanted to associate that percentage with a number of the top 32, which is, I mean, that is astounding in this day and age that like two decks could just dominate like that. And the rest of the breakdown was roughly 2 rogue decks and then 5 Satellar Knights. So it clearly shows that, you know, Shaddolls, especially as they were the most represented deck in top 32, they're still very much a player on the tier 1 level. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that if you look at last format, I mean, in Duelist Alliance, it was the deck that most people invested the most amount of money in. So predictably, they're not willing to just trash the deck and pick up something else when there's nothing else new to pick up. There is no Quill Ports or, you know, any other deck that people can just immediately invest in and start testing and pick up. Regardless of any reasons why people are playing the decks or not playing the decks, Shaddolls and Burning Abyss seem to be the two best decks of the format right now. And if you're running something that isn't one of those two decks, well, a lot of people are suggesting that you turn to Shadow Imprisoning Mirror in the main. Obviously, there may be 1 or 2 rogue decks that simply can't run the card. The first 2 decks that come to my mind are probably Gravekeepers and Evil Swarm. I would probably say Evil Swarm is the best example of a deck, as Infernity is pretty much, you know, DOA now. But everything else in the game, pretty much every other strong rogue deck can incorporate Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, like Madoche, Fire Fist, Mermail, Bujin. I don't know about Prophecy, and I say I probably wouldn't use it in Prophecy for the simple reason I could actually see like Shaddolls or Burning Abyss just beating the crap out of you with very weak dark monsters, because outside of High Priestess, you really don't have any beat sticks in the deck, and it's very easy to just run over Blue Boy if you just bait out the Fate. So I don't know if I'd use it in that deck. Now, the obvious downsides to running Shadow Mirror in the main deck are, I mean, they're so obvious, I feel like I don't even have to mention them, but just for the sake of clarity, I'll go ahead and do that. If you're playing against another rogue deck and you draw it early, it is absolutely one of the most horrendous things that can possibly happen. I mean, basically, you're just praying that your opponent, like, summons a random like anti-luminescent knight so that you have a slight hope of getting some use out of the card. But outside of that, it's practically going to be a dead card in your hand or on your field for the entire game. You're going to have to hope that it gets like hit with a blind MST or something of that sort. I would say that this right now might be the best example that I can think of in a very long time of risk versus reward, because you really think about this card and you ask yourself, is it worth giving up a huge edge against pretty much any other rogue matchup to dominate what is perceived to be the king of the hills? I mean, Burning Abyss and Shaddolls seem to be clearly on a higher level compared to everything else. I'm personally undecided, which is why I made this video. I'm trying to get more input because I've got a regional in the next month, and the deck that I'm playing right now is Fire Fist. It's been playing okay. You know, there's still a chance that I might run Bujins, and I'm sort of kind of going back and forth. Do I want to increase the odds of me beating those two decks, you know, exponentially at the cost of running into a rogue deck, drawing this in my opening hand, and then just starting to cry? So let me know what you guys think. Have we gotten to a point where Shadow Imprisoning Mirror can be considered main deck tech? And I mean, you just like don't seem dead. You don't get laughed at or seem like a player who's extremely desperate. Thank you guys for watching. As always, leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribing makes life happy.